Spring in itself is no different from any other season. However, of course, the big thing in spring is more dogs are exercised, and it's something which one needs to keep an eye on, that the dog is comparatively fit and that you don't sort of suddenly think, golly, we're going to go for a 10-mile walk, because not only you may suffer, but also your pet may. But in itself, as far as exercise is concerned, the good thing about spring is that we start to get the weight off some dogs.
Are you seeing a lot of overweight dogs now?
Overweight in dogs and in cats and in rabbits is one of the big problems that veterinary surgeons do see. It's one of those things that I think if you spoke to my human colleagues and spoke about people in general, that weight is a problem. It also is in animals. This probably has two causes. One is, are animals exercised enough? And if somebody is personally overweight, they probably don't see their pet as overweight. So yes, overweight is a problem.
And dropping them a few treats from the table as well, probably.
This isn't mainly the point of feeding from the table, although of course we wouldn't approve of it, because then you will get your animal begging as such. It is just too much food.
And how then do you go about exercising or making sure your cat or your rabbit is having enough exercise? Because they seem to be a little bit more independent than a dog.
Indeed, especially with cats. The joy of them, although we are seeing more overweight animals, the joy of the cat is it still is a wild animal. It will go out and it will exercise itself. Of course, though, that we are seeing more flat cats, meaning by that animals that are kept indoors, and this is a problem that we do see, that they are fed under-exercised. How can you enjoy company with cats? Obviously by playing with them. Now my daughter, although she doesn't live in a flat, she has found one way of exercising one of her cats. Ping pong balls in the bath, obviously no water, but it's amazing how a ping pong ball will go up and down the bath and the cat will play. You can, of course, get toys like a sort of plastic snake in which there's a ping pong ball with little openings in that the cat can get its paw in and will play. The other thing is, as long as you don't shine it into the animal's eyes, laser light. They'll chase. But I'll tell you this story. I walked into the surgery a few months ago and we were boarding a cat, and it wasn't for that we board animals, it's just that it did have other problems and the owner felt that it would be happier with us. Anyway, the point of the story is that the animal was overweight, and the girls had shouldn't call them girls, should call them veterinary nurses, but I've known them so long, they're my girls, that they were playing with the cat, trying to get some of the weight off. And the little toad, if he could touch the laser light with his paw, he'd go for it. Put it just beyond his reach, and the little toad would not go for it. Clever cat.
How soon would you see the weight drop off?
That has to be judged on how overweight the animal is, but often one would talk of something like aiming for 10% over a month.
Right, so if you then did, sort of half an hour an evening when you come home from work of a ping pong ball in a bath, then you would start to see difference at the end of a month.
You would, but again, although one encourages exercise, a lot of it is dieting, in other words, reducing the food, the amount. And of course, what you can get are types of food that are much reduced in calories, somewhat reduced in calories, lightly reduced in calories, and this day and age there are senior diets which do keep the calorie level lower with the animal that's getting older and less active.
Okay, we'll come on to nutrition a bit later, but going back to, we're exercising our dogs outside because it's a wonderful spring day. Are there illnesses or events that you're seeing that are more common with spring that you don't see in the winter?
Now, if you'd have asked me 4 days ago that question, I'd have said yes, snake bite, but we haven't seen any yet. Well, wrong again. 3 days ago, an animal came in very badly swollen forelimb, and strangely enough, not a very high temperature and not terribly ill, but a very, very swollen leg. As I felt down the leg, just by the wrist area, there was a little wound, and I'm fairly confident that that was a snake bite. The problem in early spring is that the snakes, of course, to become active need to be warmer because they're cold-blooded animals, and in early spring on a lovely day they come out to get the sun, but they're not warm enough, because under most circumstances a snake will disappear long before that you will get close to it. It'll hear you coming, and the same with the dogs. The danger, of course, is if the dog puts its face towards the snake rather than pawing it, because if the venom is injected into them, then of course the closer to the brain, the more serious it is.
And what sort of snakes are we seeing?
Well, of course, the only poisonous snake in Britain is the viper.
And so we've got vipers around here, obviously.
Oh gosh, yes, yes. I believe that Sussex and Hampshire are sandier in their soils, and that they are have a heavier load, if I use that word, of snakes, but we get them. I mean, where this dog had been was over at Little Switzerland on the East Cliff in Folkestone, but certainly up in Limminge Forest there, and of course lots of dogs are exercised in that sort of area.